I would like to ask you about the cost of sending a child out of state, and are you restricted in the amount of rates that you pay an out-of-state vendor that you don't have the ability to pay in-state vendors? And that may be something you have to look up, but that's just a question that I think all of us would benefit from knowing. Thank you. And so, Karen, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, members of the committee, and especially to Senator Fraucht. I am Karen Brady. I'm the Executive Director of Ryther, the agency that Senator Fraucht referenced. Ryther is a 132-plus agency that's been serving children and families in the Puget Sound and the state of Washington. And our expertise, quite frankly, was born out of and came from our work with these children that we're talking about right now. So we're well known for serving very high-end, complicated children, and we would love to continue to do that. So I have passed out to the committee and is a one-page document that highlights pretty briefly what it costs to do this, what the current reimbursement rate, how many beds have closed, and what are the consequences of of the closures of the agencies that have happened. I want to give you sort of a picture of the actual consequences. It's one thing to see numbers on a page, it's another thing to sort of hear the realities of it. So this is an email that we got yesterday for a referral of a foster child. We received a referral for a 10-year-old girl removed from her family in 2015 after disclosing sexual abuse. She is currently in a psychiatric hospital. Prior to that, she had been in overnight hotel stays for 6 weeks. Prior to that, she'd been 11 foster care placements and 2 previous hospitalizations. So this young lady is 10 years old, has been through 11 foster homes, 3 hospitalizations, and 6 weeks in a hotel room. So she's one of the children coming in our front door, and now I want to tell you a little bit about, because there's lots of questions about, is this effective treatment? Do we get what we pay for? Does it make a difference? So the other 2 things I want to tell you about, one is an email that I recently got from one of our staff. Hey folks, I was coming out of QFC the other day and a young person said, did you used to work at Ryther? He still does. It was one of our former clients from Cottage A. She is a certified nursing assistant and said that she also sings soul music and does some performances. She is clearly doing really well. It's really great to see her thriving. And the other story I want to tell you about is on Monday, I did new employee training, and I'm the first speaker as the executive director, and I usually go around and can you please introduce yourself, tell me where you're from, and what brought you to Ryther. We got to a staff who said, yeah, I was a special ed teacher in the Kent School District, and I did kindergarten through 3rd grade, and I was exhausted by the bureaucracy and paperwork. And the reason I decided to come to Ryther is I had this young child in my classroom who showed up with her foster parents with this binder. She said this child was wonderful. She could talk about her coping skills. She could talk about her feelings. She could talk about how she was managing situations. And I was amazed. And she said, when I decided that I could no longer be a special ed teacher because of the bureaucracy and all the paperwork, I decided to come to the agency that taught her those things, and that's Ryther. So I want to just put some flesh on those bones for you guys about what the difference residential treatment can make in children's lives. The other thing that I want to let you all know is that all residential providers have to report to the department, and Ms. Lambert-Eccles can echo this. We have to report every year how many kids left your agency, where did they go to, how many disrupted, how many were expelled or suspended, et cetera, et cetera. I want to let you know that for Ryther, most of the kids that discharge from our agency, a vast majority of them go to permanency. They either go to a family setting. They either go to a relative, they go to adoption, or they go to foster care. The reality is we are not at Ryther going to be able to continue to do this. In spite of the increases that were mentioned earlier, Navos, Ruth Dykman closed their BRS beds in October. That was after the $750 per month per child rate increase that we received. The cost of doing business for Ryther in Seattle, where we have to compete at $15 an hour, is $411 a day. The reimbursement from the state right now is $248 a day. We are subsidizing the state at $1.2 million every year. The only difference between Navos, Ruth Dykman, and Ryther is an endowment and some really generous people. So I would love it if the state of Washington would help those people out and do what Senator Frocht is asking, which is to pay a rate that actually helps us keep our doors open. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. My name is Carl Quackenbush. I'm General Counsel at Valve Corporation in Bellevue, Washington. I'm here today in my capacity as President of the Ryther Child Board of Trustees, Ryther Child Center Board of Trustees. And I'm here to urge the swift passage of SB 6013 to address this crisis. Ryther's been taking in damaged kids for over 130 years. In our cottage program, we take the young kids who have run out of options in the state system. You can think about the system as a big funnel. The kids come into the system, they fail out of approximately 9 foster care placements before they get to us. So we're at the bottom of this funnel. We're the last stop. We're the last chance. These are the most severe cases in the state, as you've heard. Most of the stories these kids come with are absolutely too painful to repeat. The behaviors they exhibit are often dramatic and self-destructive. At Ryther, they finally get the treatment that they really need, and they get rehabilitated. It's evidence-based, it's professional, it's state-of-the-art, and most importantly, it works. Kids get better. They leave Ryther prepared to go to less expensive placements. They leave with a fair shot at a successful life. Without this treatment, if we weren't there, they're on a path to repeated failure as they struggle with the demons that haunt them. BRS kids, as you know, are in the legal custody of the state. They're our kids. They are our responsibility. We have a fiduciary duty to them. Frankly, in my view, this speaking strictly for myself, the financial treatment of these BRS kids by the state of Washington is shameful. As a Washington citizen, as a taxpayer, and as a father, I'm ashamed of this. The treatment these kids get at Ryther and facilities like Ryther is absolutely essential to their welfare. Yet the state refuses to pay for it. Currently, the reimbursement rate, as you heard, is about 60% of the cost. And it's been that way as long as I've been associated with Ryther. The entirely predictable result is that BRS beds in Washington are rapidly disappearing. This should be completely unsurprising. We've been warning about this for years and years. The current system isn't working. It's almost Kafkaesque to me. The kids are being warehoused in motels with state employees at a cost of about 10 times the current reimbursement rate. It's ridiculous. It can't continue. SB 6013 says something that should be, in my view, completely uncontroversial. BRS providers should be paid for the services they render. This legislation is desperately needed and long overdue. Let's take care of our kids, and I urge the swift passage of SB 6013. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your corporate interest in this and your service on the board and for taking time to come down today, Mr. Quackenbush. Thank you very much.